Hello everyone. Let's start our today's session. In this introductory session of SQL, let's talk about today's agenda first. So we will start with very basic concepts. First we will start with intro to database. Then we will move forward with what is DBMS. Further we will discuss about the types of DBMS. And later we shall discuss about the basic data types that we use in SQL. So first of all, let's start with the very basic concept. What is data? We are gradually moving from basic to advanced topics to data science. So first we should be knowing what is data. So any raw information, any raw information be it text, numbers, photos, videos, etc. is data, right? So this is very the basic understanding of what a data could be. Now we know that in today's time data is the new oil, right? All the trending businesses, you say, any government or anything is revolving up around data. So now in order to store and in order to manage this data, huge data, there should be some system, right? So for that purpose database came into picture. Database. Now you might be thinking what is a database? So let's talk about it. A database is a place to store data, right? So there are a few characteristics about a database. Let's talk about it in further detail one by one, right? So database is a place to store data, then interrelated data is stored on some computing systems. Then further, it should be such that it's fast and easy to store and retrieve data from it, right? Now we are using this database for storing our data. Now it should not be such a case where it's taking a huge amount of time to access our data. That should not be the case. The database should be easy enough to access, right? So these were a few of the characteristics of a database. Now there might be the case that you might be learning about database for the very first time in a formal terms, but that's not the case. There is one of the database which each one of us has used somewhere or the other point in our lives, right? And the example that I am talking about is nothing older than our spreadsheets. Each of us has used MS Excel or Google Sheets. One is of a product of Microsoft and the other one is a product of Google. So the very basic type of database is spreadsheets. We often use it, right? But spreadsheet is not the only solution which can be used on a wider or larger platform, right? Like the companies like Amazon, IRCTC, they have millions of data. They can't use spreadsheets for storing their data and to accessing it, right? It would create a lot of chaotic environment for them if they would start storing their data in the basic spreadsheets. So what could be the issues that you find a spreadsheet might have? Please comment down below the issues that you feel that can't be used on a larger platform. Okay, I will be talking about the issues about the basic spreadsheet, issues with spreadsheets, issues, or you could say the drawbacks also. Let's talk about them one by one. So the first one is scalability. Scalability. What is scalability? It means that spreadsheets will collapse when there is huge amount of data. It won't work for millions of rows and columns, right? It won't work. Now let's talk about the next drawback, that is data integrity. Data integrity. Let's say you are using a Google Sheet and you gave access that now anyone with the link can edit my information, and you shared among one of the group, right? Now what happens is that one person might come and he or she might delete the information that you must have inputted, and that could be one of the important information, so you might lose that data. So this is not a good database in terms of data integrity. Then the third point is concurrent access. So now let's again talk about the Google Sheets only. That what happens if, let's say, 10 to 15 people are simultaneously trying to log in. And I said a lesser number, but let's say a huge number of people are trying to access one single spreadsheet, then there will be issues related to logging in and it might not work properly. Let's talk about fourth drawback, that is about the security. So what happens is that in Google Sheets you don't get proper protection of your data. Let's talk about the another drawback and the last one, that is performance. When large amount of data is inputted in the spreadsheets, they would perform very less and their performance drops down in a huge amount. So these were the issues with the old form spreadsheets. So now let's talk about what was the alternate that these big companies like Amazon or anything, you name it, and there is it, Flipkart or anything, they are using the most formally called DBMS. DBMS stands for database management systems. So now let's discuss about the DBMS. This is our database that we are discussing about, like a potential good amount of database that is much powerful than the ordinary spreadsheets. So what happens is that internally in the database management system, this I am explaining in very basic terms. There is one database management. This is some sort of computing device or a software. It is related with some sort of an app or an application or a web browser, and this is connected with the user. This is how the database management system works. For these huge companies like BookMyShow, Amazon, they have their storage device or the database at some other location, and user, let's say we are at our home and we can easily access these platforms, right? And we can access all these websites and apps easily. So how this works? So how all of this works? It works over the internet. We can access it. What happens is that the user provides some information to the app. Let's say you are using BookMyShow and you gave the information that on so and so date I want to book a ticket for this movie. You gave your information to this app. Now what this app internally does is that it converts your instructions in the form of an SQL query. SQL app will convert all its instructions in the SQL form, and then further it sends to this computing device, that is the database management, right? So computer doesn't understand English or Hindi or any other languages. It understands the computing languages only. This app will send the instructions in SQL to this computing device. Then what happens is that further this database management will act upon the SQL and move ahead to the database, and based on the what is the instruction, it will either store the data in the database or it will retrieve the data from the database and further it will send it back to the user. That's how the entire database management system functions. Now let's talk about types of DBMS. So the first one is RDBMS. What is RDBMS? It is nothing but relational database management system. It is relational database management system. It stores data in tabular form. Tabular is nothing but like in the form of rows and columns, right? So there are a few examples of RDBMS. Those are like MySQL. It's an open source platform and free one. Another one is Oracle. Another one is a product of Microsoft, that is Microsoft SQL Server. All of these, all the three which I have mentioned here, works in the form of SQL. Now, let me just give you a brief, just the introduction about the SQL. We will discuss more about it in the further lectures. SQL, here L stands for the language, Q query, and S is structured. Structured query language, that is SQL. Query means to send the instruction to the database manager, and it will fetch or either store the data in the database, and it will work accordingly. Now let's talk about the another type of the DBMS. Let's talk about the second type of DBMS, that is hierarchical DBMS. Hierarchical DBMS. So this kind of DBMS stores data in tree format. So the very basic kind of example for a hierarchical DBMS, I would say, is the file management system in our PCs. Example of hierarchical database management system is the file management system. File management system in our PCs or laptop. So in our laptops we have this my PC or whatever, my computer. Then in it further we have all these drives, C, D, E, right? Then further these drives have different kind of folders. Let's say here it could have user, program, or anything. Here it could have some file related to, let's say, documents. And similarly in D drive it could have your personal files like study or work. Let me mention it. So this is, let's say, work related file. And similarly here you could have anything other XYZ folders. And further, as per our necessity, we make folders in these files as well. So this is the example of hierarchical DBMS. Now let's talk about the last topic of today's session, that is the data types. Yes. So the data types that we use in SQL are of text, numeric, Boolean, and date type. So these are the data types in which we generally work in SQL. So all of us know that text is nothing but any strings that we write, right? It could be, let's say, name, then city, anything in the double quotes or single quotes is known as text. Then this is text. Then for numerical, these are any numbers like 27 or any float value like 5.5, 0, etc. These are numbers, or you can say numeric. Then moving forward, Boolean. Boolean has two values, true and false. These are Boolean. And all the dates and times, let's say 25/07/2023, or any timestamps, let's say 01/00/00, anything. These are in the form of date time, right? Date time. Now, what is the use of using this different kind of data types? So let's say in SQL you inserted one table. This table is all the details about some customers. Like this is customer ID, then this is product ID, and then we have the product price, then the quantity, and the total amount of the product. So this is the detail which we have. So this customer ID could be in the form of alphabets or numbers, right? Like it depends on the norms of the form. It could be anything. Let's say it is something like the unique ID of any customer. It is, let's say, AB12. Then they are providing some different customer with the name as B7, or let's say BD19, etc. Anything. This is just an random example. And similarly, there could be the product IDs as well. This could be, let's say, AC79, or this could be CD18. Right? It is random product IDs significant to the corresponding products of that form. And here is the price of, let's say, 10 rupees. Then here it is 15 rupees. And quantity is, let's say, 2. Here it is 1. So the total amount would be 20 and 15. This is just an example of a table that we could use in SQL, right? So here you can see that this column is having a text data type, right? In text data type, it could have alphabets as well as number also. Similarly for this column, this is also in the text data type format. Now all these three columns, price, quantity and amount, all of these three are in numeric data type. So now what is the use to give different data types to different columns? So basically, having different data types allows us to do different operations on this particular columns, right? So as this particular column is having numeric data type, so we could use it in our different kind of operations. Like we could fetch that how many total quantity of products were bought in so and so month, like what was the total price of the products which were bought, or any kind of data retrieval task we can perform. So for numeric type of data types, we can fetch another type of data, like for customer ID AB12, what was the amount? We need to retrieve such a data. Then we can retrieve using this type of data, and this is possible only if we have each column having different data types as per its characteristics, right? So this is very simple for the just 2 rows of data, but for millions of rows of data, this is a very difficult task to retrieve data. So for this, it is very important to give relevant data types to all the columns. So that's all for today's session. Thank you, friends. See you in another session.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.